I'm Nicole Perry, 29 years old, a tech analyst living in Seattle who had driven for hours to return home to Fargo, North Dakota for the family reunion I always looked forward to each year. But this year, the atmosphere was nothing like the warm memories I cherished. Outside was cold, but inside the room, the tension was suffocating. The room buzzed with lively conversations, but deep inside, a feeling of unease crept in. My parents stood up, their faces glowing with pride, ready to make an important announcement. They turned to my brother, the perfect son they always praised, and placed a shiny car key in his hand. "Your brother deserves it," my mom said, her voice full of admiration, as he held up the keys to a brand new SUV. The room erupted in applause and congratulations, but I sat still, a crooked smile on my face, because deep down I knew what was coming next. And then, the moment arrived. My father quietly slid an envelope across the table toward me, his eyes avoiding mine as if he knew it was wrong. "Family responsibility," he said flatly, as if those few words explained everything. Inside was a rent bill for $7,500 for an apartment I had never lived in. My heart pounded. I looked at my brother, who was proudly admiring his expensive gift, then at my parents, their faces beaming with pride for him, yet indifferent to my presence. "You've always been the responsible one," my mom added, as if that justified putting a burden on my shoulders that I had never agreed to carry. I clutched the envelope tightly, my fingers trembling as unfairness and hurt swelled inside me. But this time I wasn't going to stay silent. I refused to let it slide. That moment ignited a fire inside me, and I knew a war had begun. They thought I would keep carrying the weight, keep sacrificing, but this time I was ready to fight. Before my story continues, tell me what time it is, where you are, and which city you're watching from, so I can see how far my story has traveled. As I clutched that bill, old wounds came rushing back. I was 12, sitting alone at the kitchen table in our Fargo home, a single cupcake in front of me, its candle unlit. My parents were out whisking my brother Mason off to a fancy dinner to celebrate his middle school talent show win. I'd spent weeks practicing for my own school play, but no one remembered my performance or my birthday. I waited, hoping for a call or a rushed apology, but the house stayed quiet. I pushed the cupcake aside, the weight of being forgotten sinking deep into my chest. My high school graduation was another blow. At 18, I'd earned honors, pouring countless nights into studying while working part-time to save for college. I stood in my cap and gown, scanning the crowd for familiar faces, but none came. My mom and dad were at Mason's amateur band gig, cheering as he fumbled through chords. I gripped my diploma, surrounded by other families' applause, feeling like a stranger in my own milestone. Their absence wasn't just a missed event. It was a message that my efforts didn't matter. Then there was the summer Mason got a lavish trip to Miami. My parents called it a reward for his vibrant personality, even though he'd dropped out of college after one semester. I'd just landed my first tech analyst job, a grueling climb to prove myself, but they brushed it off with a half-hearted, "That's nice." Instead, they raved about Mason's charm as if my steady grind was invisible. I sat through their praise, my jaw tight, forcing a smile to hide the sting of being sidelined again. Mason's extravagance only grew. He'd post on social media about his latest splurges: designer sunglasses, a custom leather jacket, bottle service at exclusive clubs. His followers fawned over the glamour, oblivious to the recklessness behind it. I'd scroll through his posts, seeing him pose in a rented sports car, and feel my stomach twist. How could he afford it? I was pinching pennies, budgeting every dime, while he lived like a king without a care. Another memory hit hard: the time I won a regional coding competition. I'd spent months preparing, coding late into the night, and came home with a trophy, beaming with pride. But my parents were distracted, planning a party for Mason's big break as an influencer. They didn't even glance at my award. I set it on my desk, its shine dulled by their indifference. Mason's posts from that party, champagne toasts, rooftop views mocked my quiet achievement. Each slight built on the last. I wasn't just the responsible one. I was the one they overlooked, the one whose sacrifices went unnoticed. Mason's carefree life, propped up by my parents' endless support, cast a shadow over every step I took. The resentment simmered, growing sharper with each memory. I could feel it bubbling over a fire I couldn't douse. Those years of being dismissed weren't just moments, they were a pattern, and I was done accepting it. But I had no idea that the disappointment of that day was only the beginning. A far darker secret was waiting for me ahead. On a whim, I logged into an old email account I rarely checked, one tied to my dad's consulting firm, where I'd helped with data entry years ago. A new message sat at the top, marked urgent, from his assistant. My heart skipped as I opened it, expecting a routine update. Instead, it was a forwarded chain about an investment account with my name in bold. I froze, my pulse racing. I dug into the email thread, each line unraveling a secret. The account opened in my name held over $200,000, but I'd never signed a single document. Attached statements showed withdrawals, thousands at a time, funneled to a bank account I didn't recognize. My hands shook as I traced the transactions. One transfer matched the date Mason posted about a luxury watch purchase, another lined up with his Miami yacht rental. The pieces clicked. My parents had used my identity to fund Mason's extravagant lifestyle. My name was just a shield for their favoritism. I scrolled through Mason's social media to confirm my suspicions. His latest post showed him at a rooftop club, champagne in hand, surrounded by influencers. The caption boasted about living the dream, but I saw the truth. Every dollar came from an account tied to me. My stomach churned. How long had this been going on? How could they betray me like this? Desperate for clarity, I called my friend Monica, a paralegal I'd known since college. She answered on the second ring, her voice steady despite the late hour. I poured out the discovery, my words tumbling over each other. Monica listened, her calm presence anchoring me. "You don't deserve this," she said firmly. "This is wrong, and you can fight it." Her words were a lifeline, pulling me from the edge of panic. She urged me to take a breath and start digging deeper, promising to help however she could. I hung up, my mind racing but focused. I resolved to uncover every detail. This wasn't just about money, it was about trust, or the lack of it. I opened my laptop again, pulling up every email from my dad's firm I could access. Each click revealed more vague references to family investments, coded language about securing funds. My parents had orchestrated this, and Mason was the beneficiary. The betrayal cut deeper than I'd imagined, a knife twisting with every new piece of evidence. The shock settled into something colder, sharper. I wasn't just angry, I was determined. My family thought I'd stay quiet, the dutiful daughter who always played along. They were wrong. This email was the spark, and I was ready to burn their secrets to the ground. Over the next few weeks, I uncovered a web of lies. My first step was a meeting with a lawyer in downtown Fargo, a sharp woman named Karen who specialized in financial fraud. I sat across from her, my hands gripping a folder of printed emails, my heart pounding with a mix of dread and resolve. Karen skimmed the documents, her brow furrowing as she confirmed the worst: a $150,000 loan had been taken out in my name, tied to the investment account I'd discovered. My parents had forged my signature, and the funds were siphoned to Mason. "This is identity theft," she said bluntly, her words hitting like a punch. I knotted, my throat tight, knowing I had to keep digging to prove it. Back at my apartment, I dove into bank documents I'd requested using access from my old data entry job at my dad's firm. The statements were a maze of numbers, but I traced every transaction. One withdrawal of $10,000 matched a date Mason had posted about a private jet rental for a weekend in Vegas. Another $5,000 went to a high-end boutique the same week he flaunted a tailored suit online. Each line item was a stab of betrayal, proof my parents were bankrolling Mason's reckless lifestyle with my name as collateral. My fingers trembled as I highlighted the evidence, my anger growing with every page. Mason, oblivious, kept broadcasting his extravagance. I opened my phone to find his latest post, a video of him popping champagne at a Miami nightclub surrounded by flashing lights and cheering friends. His caption read, "Chasing the high life." I clenched my fists, the audacity of his carefree spending fueling my determination. How could he parade this wealth knowing it wasn't his? His followers' adoring comments only deepened my resolve to expose the truth. Then came a call from my mom. Her voice was clipped, demanding I cover a $2,000 family expense for a property maintenance bill. "You're the responsible one," she said, as if it were a compliment. I bit back a retort, realizing she was testing how much I'd take before pushing back. The pressure was familiar, but this time it felt sinister, a tactic to keep me distracted while they hid their tracks. I hung up, my mind racing, refusing to let her guilt trip me into compliance. I started piecing together a plan. I'd need more than documents to confront them. I needed control of the account to stop the bleeding. Karen had mentioned transferring ownership, a legal move that could lock my parents and Mason out. I spent nights researching, mapping out every step, gather evidence, secure the account, and prepare for a public reveal. The thought of facing them sent a chill through me, but I was done being their scapegoat. This was my fight, and I'd play it smart. Monica proved invaluable. She texted me contact details for a bank manager she knew from her paralegal work, someone who could expedite access to account records. "This guy's discreet," she wrote, attaching his number. I called him the next day, my voice steady, as I requested a full audit of the account. He promised to deliver detailed records within a week, a lifeline I hadn't expected. Monica's help was practical, no nonsense, exactly what I needed to keep moving forward. Each discovery tightened the knot in my chest, but it also sharpened my focus. My parents thought they could use me as a pawn, and Mason thought he could keep living his lie. They were wrong. I was building a case brick by brick, and when the time came, I'd make sure they faced the truth. 1 week later, my plan was ready to strike. I met with a financial agent in Fargo, a quiet man named Tom, who specialized in account transfers. Sitting in his cramped office, I handed over the bank records, my hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. Tom reviewed the documents, confirming the investment account in my name could be transferred to my sole control. It was a legal maneuver, he explained, that would lock out anyone else, including my parents. I signed the paperwork, my signature deliberate, reclaiming what was mine. By the end of the week, the account was mine alone, a silent victory that felt like the first step toward justice. Next, I worked with my lawyer, Karen, to prepare an airtight set of legal documents. We met at a coffee shop away from prying eyes poring over every detail. The papers outlined the unauthorized loan, the forged signatures, and the trail of withdrawals funding Mason's extravagance. Karen helped me draft a presentation, a clear, damning summary for a public reveal. I wanted every fact bulletproof, ready to expose the truth at the right moment. Each page I reviewed fueled my resolve, a reminder of the betrayal I was about to confront. Mason, unaware, kept flaunting his lifestyle. I opened my phone to his latest video, him dancing at a Las Vegas penthouse party, surrounded by models and flashing neon lights. The caption boasted, "Another night, another vibe." My blood boiled as I watched, knowing the funds for his champagne-soaked nights came from my name. His followers showered him with praise, blind to the lies behind his glamour. I saved the video, another piece of evidence for my growing arsenal, my fingers itching to hit back. Then came a call from my mom and dad, their voices warm but calculated. They invited me to the annual family gathering in Fargo, a lavish event at our countryside home. "It's time to come together," my mom said, her tone masking something I couldn't place. My dad added, "We're counting on you." I played along, agreeing to attend, my voice calm to avoid suspicion. Inside, I knew this was the stage for my plan, a room full of relatives and friends, the perfect place to unveil their deception. Monica stepped in again, this time to verify the legal documents. I sent her digital copies, and she spent hours cross-checking every detail against banking regulations. Over a late-night call, she confirmed the papers were solid, her voice precise, as she pointed out a minor formatting tweak to strengthen the presentation. "You're doing the right thing," she said, not as comfort, but as a nod to my strategy. Her help kept me grounded, ensuring no loose ends would unravel my work. I kept every move under wraps. I avoided family calls, dodged my mom's probing texts about my finances, and stayed off social media to avoid tipping them off. Each night, I reviewed my plan in my apartment, the silence broken only by the hum of my laptop. I rehearsed my reveal, imagining their faces when the truth hit. The thought of confronting Mason, my parents, and their lies sent a surge of nervous energy through me, but I was ready. This was my moment, and I wouldn't let it slip. 1 week later, the day of the family gathering finally arrived. The family gathering hummed until I dropped the truth. The countryside home in Fargo buzzed with warmth, string lights twinkling above long tables laden with holiday dishes. Aunts, uncles, and cousins filled the room, their laughter mingling with soft music, unaware of the storm brewing. I stood near the fireplace, my pulse steady but fierce, clutching a folder of legal documents. My mom and dad mingled with guests, their smiles polished, while Mason held court in a corner, showing off a new gold watch to a fawning cousin. The air felt thick with their confidence, but I was about to shatter it. I stepped to the center of the room, raising my voice to cut through the chatter. "I have something to share." I said, my tone calm but commanding. The crowd quieted, eyes turning to me. I opened the folder, holding up the first document, a bank statement showing the $150,000 loan in my name. Gasps rippled through the room as I explained the forged signatures, the withdrawals funneled to Mason's accounts, and the investment account my parents had used as a front. I projected screenshots of Mason's social media, his Vegas parties, his Miami yacht, each tied to a transaction date. The evidence was undeniable, and I laid it bare for all to see. My mother's face drained of color. "This is a misunderstanding," she stammered, her voice shaking as she glanced at my dad. He tried to intervene, his words tripping over each other. "We were protecting the family's future," he insisted, but his excuses sounded hollow, unraveling under the weight of the truth. Guests shifted uncomfortably, their whispers growing as they pieced together the deception. Mason's reaction was louder. He shoved his chair back, his face red with panic. "You're twisting everything," he shouted, his voice cracking. He launched into a rant, blaming me for ruining the vibe, but his words betrayed him. He bragged about his spending, claiming he earned the lifestyle, exposing his recklessness to the stunned crowd. His outburst only dug his hole deeper, confirming every accusation I'd laid out. The guests watched wide-eyed as the scene unfolded. My Aunt Linda clutched her glass, her jaw tight, while my cousin Greg stared at Mason, his admiration replaced by disgust. The room's warmth had vanished, replaced by a tense silence, broken only by Mason's desperate protests. I could feel their judgment settling on my family, their trust in my parents crumbling with every passing second. I faced my parents head-on, my voice steady but sharp. "You used my name, my future, to bankroll his lies," I said, pointing at Mason. "I'm done being your scapegoat." My mom tried to reach for my arm, her eyes pleading, but I stepped back, unyielding. My dad's shoulders slumped, his authority gone. Mason glared at me, his hands shaking, but I held his gaze unflinching. This was my moment, and I stood tall. The weight of years of silence finally lifted. Their excuses rang hollow as I walked away. The room still buzzed with shock, but my mother's voice rose above the murmurs, sharp and accusatory. "This is all your fault, Charles," she snapped, pointing at my dad. Her face twisted with desperation, trying to shift the blame, as guests stared, their whispers growing louder. My father's jaw tightened, his usual composure cracking. "You signed off on it too, Janet." He shot back, his voice low but biting. Their bickering filled the air, a pathetic attempt to dodge the truth I'd laid bare. I watched them unravel, their unity crumbling under the weight of their own lies. Mason, meanwhile, scrambled to salvage his image. He pulled out his phone, fumbling to post a cryptic message on social media. "Haters always twist the truth," he typed, his fingers shaking as he tried to spin the narrative. His followers, usually quick to praise, flooded the comments with questions. "What's this about alone?" one asked. Another wrote, "Is this why you're always flexing?" His polished influencer facade was cracking, and I felt a grim satisfaction watching his world tilt. His reckless spending, once a badge of pride, was now a noose tightening around him. I didn't linger to watch their chaos unfold further. I grabbed my coat and walked out of the Fargo house, the cold air hitting my face like a release. The snow crunched under my boots as I crossed the driveway, leaving behind the warmth of a family that had never truly been mine. Each step felt lighter, as if I were shedding years of their expectations. I didn't look back, the weight of their betrayal no longer mine to carry. This was my exit, final and unapologetic. The next morning, I met with my lawyer Karen to finalize the next step. She drafted a legal notice, a formal demand for accountability addressed to my parents and Mason. The letter outlined their misuse of my identity, the $150,000 loan, and the fraudulent withdrawals backed by every document I'd gathered. Karen sent it via certified mail, ensuring they couldn't ignore it. "This sets the stage for legal action," she said, her tone confident. I nodded, my resolve unshaken, knowing this was the hammer to their fragile defenses. Back in my apartment, I felt a rush of liberation. For years, my parents had tethered me to their control, expecting me to play the dutiful daughter while they propped up Mason. Now, with the account in my name and the truth exposed, I was free. I sat on my couch, the quiet of my space a stark contrast to the chaos I'd left behind. For the first time, I wasn't the one cleaning up their mess. The chains of their expectations had broken, and I could finally breathe. The fallout was swift. Whispers from the gathering spread, amplified by social media. A local Fargo news outlet picked up the story, running a piece titled, "Family Secrets Exposed at Holiday Reunion." My parents' reputation, once untouchable in our small community, took a hit. Neighbors gossiped, and old family friends distanced themselves. Mason's follower count dropped, his brand tarnished as sponsors backed away. The scandal wasn't just personal, it was public, a glaring spotlight on their deceit. I watched from afar, my heart steady, knowing I'd done what was right. New Year's arrived, and I was finally free. I threw myself into building a new career path, determined to carve out a life on my terms. I landed a role as a data consultant at a tech startup in Fargo, a job that valued my coding skills and relentless work ethic. Each day, I dove into complex datasets, crafting solutions that earned praise from my team. The office buzzed with energy, a stark contrast to the suffocating weight of my family's expectations. I leased a new apartment downtown, its wide windows letting in light that felt like a fresh start. Every step forward, every late-night project, every client meeting built my confidence, proof I could thrive without their shadow. Mason, meanwhile, crashed hard. His overspending caught up, his accounts drained from years of reckless purchases. I heard through a mutual friend that he'd declared bankruptcy. His luxury condo repossessed, his designer wardrobe sold off to cover debts. His social media went silent, the once constant stream of party photos replaced by a single post, a vague apology about tough times. His followers, once loyal, turned on him, their comments sharp with betrayal. The influencer empire he'd built on stolen funds collapsed, leaving him to face the consequences of his own choices. My parents faced their own reckoning. My mother and father lost their standing in Fargo's tight-knit community, their names whispered in hushed tones at local events. The legal notice I'd sent triggered an investigation, and rumors swirled about potential charges for fraud. A local law firm dropped my dad as a client, unwilling to touch the scandal. Their carefully curated image pillars of success crumbled as neighbors and colleagues distanced themselves. I didn't revel in their downfall, but I felt a quiet justice in watching them face the truth they'd tried to bury. I decided to share my story online not for revenge, but to reclaim my voice. I posted a detailed thread on social media outlining how I'd uncovered my family's deception and fought back. I described the forged loan, the betrayal, and my journey to break free, keeping the tone raw but measured. The post spread quickly, resonating with strangers who'd faced similar family struggles. Messages poured in, some from old friends, others from people I'd never met, offering support and sharing their own stories. The response wasn't just validation, it was a reminder that I wasn't alone. Through it all, I learned a hard truth: you have to value yourself even when family chooses someone else. For years, I'd let their bias define me, measuring my worth against Mason's spotlight. But standing up to them taught me that my value wasn't tied to their approval. I'd built a life from my own grit, and that was enough. The scars of their favoritism would always linger, but they no longer held me back. I was stronger, not because of them, but despite them. To everyone reading this, thank you for following my story. It's been a long road, but sharing it has given me strength. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and let me know what you think, or if you've faced something similar. Your stories matter too.